Okay, councillors, now 5 o'clock. I open the meeting, Tuesday the 27th of August. In accordance with the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, the public is advised that the proceedings of the meetings of council will be recorded on digital media to assist in preparation of the minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussion of the meeting is available. West Coast Council acknowledges the traditional custodians on the land in which we gather today and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 265 of the agenda is record of attendance, apologies, leave of absence. We've got a leave of absence from Councillor Mackay and all other councillors are present. Item 266. Any councillor that has a financial interest in any of the items on the agenda may declare it now or before discussions at the time of the meeting. No financial interest. Item 267 is confirmation of the minutes. That the recommendation is that minutes of the ordinary meeting of the West Coast Council held at the West Coast Council Chambers, 11 Stitch Street, Queenstown, Tuesday the 23rd of July, I don't think that's right. July, a copy of which, having been previously circulated to councillors prior to the meeting, be confirmed as true and accurate record. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Jordan, second Councillor Butterfield. Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 268 is public participation and question time. So 15 minutes is allocated to the meeting. If anyone from the public would like to ask a question, if you can give your name and address beforehand, that'd be great. Any questions from the gallery? No questions? Okay. No questions from...
None received.
Okay. None received. Thank you. We'll keep moving. Item 269 is councillors raised issue and information. We have a question on notice from Councillor Mackay. Can a definite timeline be given to when the water feature at the Strawn Playground will be functioning? As a new and great council and community asset, the lack of water feature is detrimental to council's reputation.
So I understand it's a Tas water issue. Aaron, are you able to provide a time frame or any further detail?
I touched base with Matt on that today. There's some issue from Tas Waters and with a property ID triple job, so we're looking for that.
So we can't give a firm deadline, but we're working through it with Tas Water and hope to have it resolved, and I will update councillors as soon as we've got an answer from Tas Water.
Thank you, General Manager. Any questions without notice, councillors? Yes, Councillor Hamer.
I don't know whether I should wait till close, but I'll ask the question anyway. I know I can't debate it, but I seek a motion to halve council allowance for 12 months with a review to the end of this timeline and restore it in light of the financial position.
Is this a question on without notice, Councillor?
Without notice, yes.
Or a motion
Sorry,
without
I think
notice?
a motion.
A motion without notice. Sorry, I've jumped the gun.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, yeah, I've got a question. There's a cenotaph in the compound in Phillip Street. It's a small cenotaph. It says it was put there by the Lyell Return Service League. Not quite sure where it came from or where it belonged, but a few people mentioned it to me and look at the possibility of moving it from the compound and putting it back on display somewhere where it should belong. It looks like a fairly solid concrete cenotaph, and with a clean it could be displayed somewhere. It obviously came from the Lyell district somewhere originally, but we could have a look at that.
Do we know? Yeah, so I guess we can investigate that, Councillor. We've got any idea where it may have come from?
I'm not sure, and that's what I told the people. I wasn't sure where it came from. Said it was erected by the Lyell Return Service League, and I'm not sure. So if we could sort of investigate where it came from and maybe give it an appropriate home.
Well, yes, we'll take that on notice and investigate, find out where it's from originally, and then it may have been taken away for some reason. Yep, by all means.
And just one more question. I had a resident ask, the lighting in Stitch Street playground needs to be lowered. As you come over the hill past the fire station, of a night it actually blinds them and you can't see left or right because the light's so bright. Could it be lowered just a little bit, or maybe one of those yellow lights put in? I don't know whether you've driven down that, but I did drive down and have a look, and yes, it does go in your eyeballs. And the other question was, if I may, the lighting on the Straw Wharf. Is there any progress on that?
So my understanding was, sorry, through you, Mayor, we were waiting for a replacement light to cover the toilet block, so then we can move the light on the wharf itself
Oh, no.
and turn it down. So at the moment that light's situated so that it provides lighting for people using the public toilets. So to be able to turn that down, we need to make sure there's alternate lighting there for the toilets. So that's what we're putting in place now.
May I ask, is the toilets not closed overnight?
I think they still are, but I'm not sure at what time they close.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on without notice, councillors? No. Motions without notice, councillors.
Sorry, may I ask that again?
Councillor.
Through you, Mayor, I seek a motion to halve councillor allowance for 12 months with a review at the end of this 12 months to restore it in light of our financial position. I don't know what other councillors think, but
We need a seconder, councillors, for that motion. We've got a seconder. Doesn't appear to be a seconder for that, councillor, so leave that one in abeyance for now. Motions on notice. The recommendation is that the West Coast Council write to Hydro Tasmania regarding their community grants program. A, expressing our disappointment that no West Coast organisations have been awarded a Hydro Tasmania community grant since the Rosebery Community House was a recipient in 2017. B, inquiring about Hydro Tasmania's direct financial support of West Coast community groups, given their significant infrastructure and thus revenue generated on the West Coast. And C, inviting the Hydro Tasmania to propose how to best support applications from the West Coast, ensuring the West Coast organisations are successful in their fundraising endeavours. That was moved by Councillor Ivanicki. Have we got a seconder, please, councillors? Seconder, Councillor Graham. Open for discussions, councillors. Yes, Councillor Ivanicki.
Right of reply. I wanted to let my fellow councillors know that I put this motion on notice because as council we've done a great deal of advocacy around ensuring that our major industries are actively contributing towards the community life of the West Coast. Organisations like Hydro Tasmania, which benefit significantly from our region, are well positioned to contribute directly to our local events and community organisations. I'm hearing from a variety of volunteer-led community organisations that they no longer consider applying for hydro grants due to the burdensome application process. And there is also an impression that exists among these organisations that hydro is not really interested in contributing towards West Coast events or organisations. So by highlighting this disappointing trend of not having any West Coast recipients of Hydro's Community Grants program for the past 7 years, I see this as an opportunity to explore with Hydro Tasmania if the Community Grants program is indeed effective for our West Coast context, and consider how we may collaborate for better outcomes for our community. And I look to my fellow councillors for your support to pass this motion so that we don't see another 7 years go by without a West Coast recipient.
Thank you, councillor. Any other councillors?
Through you, Mayor, further, the reason why I second the motion is because it's clear now that Hydro's contribution to our community, other than their roughly $15,000 a year rates that we get as a direct contribution to our economy, is $15,642.60 is the maximum that they have contributed to all of our organisations across the West Coast in the last 7 years. $15,642.60 is their maximum contribution to our community. So Yeah, no, I believe there needs to be some discussions with Hydro about putting a fair share back. What do we estimate? About $67 million in royalties goes to the state government, and we get $15,642.60 over 7 years. So no, I don't believe they do their share. I believe they hide behind their contributions to the state, not their contributions to the West Coast.
If I may, through you, Chair, in light of the letter that was recently given to us, I think they contribute more than their share. And to stand up for Hydro, yes, we should be having conversations with the government, perhaps, not so much bagging out Hydro.
Councillor, Hydro are a GBE of the government, state government. They
I
are
realise this,
a
but
Department of State Government, so
I realise this, but we should be talking to where the money needs to come out of.
well, we are.
So-
Hydro are quite in their right to talk to the state government, and that's what we've advocated that they should be doing. They are GBE of government, so they are owned by the government.
For sure, but as I say, I just don't think that we should be bagging them out and then asking for a grant. They've clearly given a lot of money over the years.
$15,642.60 over the last 7 years is not a lot of money when they contribute around about $67 million in royalties to the government. I believe it's an insult to the West Coast Community Council. I don't agree with you.
Well, I'm afraid I don't agree with you, Councillor Graham, and we're allowed to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, I think with the letter that they've written, it was quite clear that they do contribute. And I think that it's wrong that we're not taking the professional approach. If we need to, ask them for a moment of their time, but I don't believe we're professional in our dealings with Hydro.
That's your point of view, councillor,
That is
and
my point of view, and I'm clearly stating it is only my point of view, not that of any other councillor, unless they have another point of view, but that's, I'm sorry, Vicky, I can't support your...
Fine.
That's okay.
just,
Mayor?
yep.
I did send an email to Hydro, and I think I've gone about it the wrong way. Normally I seek your advice, which I've done in the past. This time I didn't. But I just want to know if there was an issue with the grants program itself. You know, was it just a lack of, and Vicky's answered that question, organisations obviously dropped off because the process is onerous, which I didn't know. And I think there was 2 years where they had actually no applicants at all. Yeah, and if it's only 15,000, yeah, it probably isn't good enough contribution to the West Coast. But yeah, I'm still unsure about this motion, unfortunately. And I apologise, Mayor, for if I've stepped out of line with that email.
And Mayor, I must admit, I responded to them, and I will apologise if I'm out of line, but again, I do not agree with the letter that went out with the rates. Sorry.
We'll talk about that later, councillor. There is a time and place for that, and that was part of a meeting. I'd just like to say for Councillor Ivanicky, the amount of work that went into this motion on notice, well done. The amount of background work you've done. This is exactly what a motion on notice should be. All the information's there for councillors to make an informed decision on the outcome. It does state everything that the council has been trying to put across here with this motion. I congratulate you and thank you for the amount of work you've put into making sure this motion on notice has got the right information behind it. So thank you for that. And I totally agree with you, councillors, with regard to this matter. And we're happy to write. Well, if this motion does get up, happy to write to the Hydro and ask for some explanations on top of what the letter we've just received, which is not much of an explanation. It doesn't explain a hell of a lot. The $5 million that they give to rates to the state government with regard to rates, it's not a that doesn't come to the West Coast. That's state. So I think that we've certainly got an avenue here to continue to advocate for a better outcome for the West Coast here. So any other discussions, councillor, for or against the motion?
I'd just like to say that thanks for the motion, Vicky. I would have seconded it if Councillor Graham hadn't, and I think that Part C is an extremely important part of that, is asking for feedback at how our local community can do better. So, thanks.
Yes, thank you, councillor Butterfield. It was my intention that it be a collaborative. It wasn't just being punitive, but that we want to collaborate, because this is obviously not working for our community.
Yep. And we have received numerous letters from other organisations with regard to missing out on the latest round of hydro grant funding as well. So, okay, if there are no other discussions, council will put to a vote. All those in favour for the motion? Against? Carried. Item 270 is Mayor and Councillor diaries and communications. For noting, Council resolved that the Mayor and Councillor diaries and communications as presented be noted. Any discussions on any of that, councillors? No. Keep moving. Item 271 is council workshops. For noting, council resolved to note the following workshops were conducted by council since the last ordinary meeting. Today we had Taswater presentation, Cumberland Hydro presentation, Parks and Wildlife Service on the next iconic walk, the unconformity and of course councillor discussions. Any discussions on any of that, councillor?
Through you, Mayor,
Yes.
I think in all the workshop afternoons we've had in the last 2 years, I think this afternoon was one of the most informative I've seen for a long, long time. And it was good to see a lot of these things going ahead. Unconformities prepared to work a lot more with us. Parks and Wildlife are making great progress with the walk. Then Cumberland Hydro, what a great thing. We need more of it. So yeah, no, it was a great afternoon.
Yeah, and I guess Parks and Wildlife have got presentations tonight here in Queenstown, or this afternoon and tonight in Queenstown as well. So great outcome there, and I think that'll be a tremendous boost for the West Coast. Any other discussions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Jordan.
I would just like to encourage council to take Joseph Beckett on his offer of a guided tour of Cumberland. I've been up there and it is a really good look, and they've done a marvellous job.
Yep. By all means, councillor, thank you, and we'll try and arrange a visit in due course. Thank you. Item 272 is council's decision, status report and action item list. Council resolved that the status report action item of open council meeting decision be received. Any discussions on that, councillors? No discussion? Keep moving then. Item 273 is committees of council. Council resolved that council committee reports as presented to be noted, so we have no reports. Item 274 is general manager's report. That the general manager's report as presented be noted. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Graham, second to Councillor Newman. Open for discussions, councillors.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. The issue I raised prior about the receivables, I'd just like to get some information about that, where that receivable item came from, where did it come from in the books previously, what does it represent, and should it stay there or should it go to liabilities?
Taken on notice, councillor. General manager will look at that. I've got a couple, just page 28 in the income statement. It says actual 2022/23, that probably should be 23/24, and also on page 30, the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Ivanicky.
I have a few questions.
Yep.
The first was the grant summary on page 32. I just wanted to reiterate it's very small and difficult to read. Is there a way that a larger format can be used for that, please? And then since it's the next pages, page 33 and 34, under the infrastructure and operation highlights, I was wondering, I saw pictures of the Zian Primary School Oval, and I'm actually not familiar what council's role is in the construction of that. So that's my question, what is council's role?
Through you, Mayor, the Zian Primary School provided us with 2 units, and in return, we provided some construction work on the Oval. Aaron, can you talk a little bit about what we're doing on the Oval?
Through you there, I think the agreement was, there'd be an exchange and we're improving drainage and re-levelling the oval. Through installing some drainage, some sand and some topsoil, usable area for football and athletics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Graham, I had 2 more questions.
no.
One's page 38 and one's page 42. Are either of those your questions, Councillor Graham?
Just trying to find my page, I've lost the page. I don't think so.
So page 38 is waste management. I was just looking at the numbers and noticed that there had been a 50% increase in waste management skip bins and straw and a 300% increase at Macquarie Heads. And I just wondered, is there a reason that's significant?
Questions, yes.
Given that we're being told the tourism sector is experiencing lower than expected occupancy rates, does anyone have any ideas what that increase might be attributable to?
Certainly Macquarie Heads, nine lifts this month alone. Surprising. And that, what were they, 4.5 metre bins actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4.5.
4.59 lifts out of Macquarie Heads this month alone. I was going to ask that question as well, Councillor. That's a lot of waste coming out of Macquarie Heads.
Through you, Mayor, we might go back and check those figures. Aaron, you have any updates? But we'll go back and check those figures and provide a response.
I would not believe that to be correct.
No.
Seems a lot of waste, isn't it? 9 lifts in a month. That's
I've been most weekends and I've been using one bin and it's still the same bin.
strange.
We'll clarify and report back.
Thanks, Councillor.
And my final question was about the CapEx update on page 42. With both the Queenstown and the Zian Playground scheduled for redevelopment beginning September, can we please provide some clear and consistent communication to the public regarding any disruption to their use?
Yep. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, well, there's just one other question. I cannot find the statistic in there, but I wrote it down earlier. It's about there's about a 900 a month increase on this time last year on the number of lifts per bid in Queenie, and a 300 bid decrease this time last year on the number of lifts. I wish I could find it in here. I just can't find it. I was reading it earlier in the week and I wrote these notes, but total bin lifts. It just seemed a lot. A 900 a bin increase over the month is a significant number of lifts for Queenstown, and I can't find the statistics.
Is that, excuse me, Councillor Graham, page 38, is that the Queenstown statistic?
The waste management,
Waste management?
from the waste transfer station.
No, it was number of lifts, wheelie bin lifts. Where was it?
Or do you mean the household lifts?
Household lifts, yeah. It was
That's page
household.
39, I
Nine.
believe.
There you go.
Sorry.
Thank you for your help.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was, see, page 39, am I on the wrong?
The numbers are different, so I'm on page 37.
Page 36.
I'm not sure what's happened here.
There it is, yeah. Curbside garbage collection this month, same last year. So Queenstown 4,350 this month, same period last year 3,418. That's a big difference. And Strawn, let's say 1,419 this, and last year the same period was only 1,063. So that's a significant increase. Sorry. Yeah.
If I can just, looking at this, it appears that we've made an administrative error, because if you look at this month, I know it would be financial year though. It's the same as the year-to-date figures.
which is right because it's the first month,
right.
which makes sense. But last year, it's just a big increase. We haven't had that much of an increase in the community. It's 900 bids a month increase in Queenstown and 300 lifts extra in Strawn.
Strawn.
So, you know, and the others are relatively, I mean, Zeehan's
the same.
Zeehan's up 300 lifts, not quite, let's say 290, 289, something like that, or 286, 87. So, yeah, there's a lot of, we haven't seen that sort of increase in the community. Why are we seeing so many more
My
lifts?
sense is it may be a change in reporting methods, but we'll go back and clarify.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lot of waste is what I'm getting at. I mean,
Yeah,
we're trying to,
exactly.
we're all about trying to reduce the amount of waste we're reducing on the West Coast, and certainly the amount that was going to landfill, yet the amount of lifts we're doing is considerably higher over the years, so we're producing a lot more waste individually, aren't we? Maybe, I don't know, I'd like to know.
Take that on notice, councillor, and General Manager will feed the information back in due course.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, councillors? Put to a vote, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 275 is outstanding advocacy correspondence. For noting, council resolved that the outstanding advocacy correspondence as presented be noted and continues to grow, but I guess we have received a couple there. I just noticed that Dr Rosalie Woodruff Green's plan for Macquarie Harbour, we have received that, so I guess we'll probably need to review that and just see what we have got that's come in. That's only been a recent one, may have been outside the when the agenda was put together, but yes. That was for noting, councillors. Item 276, correspondence. The council resolved that the correspondence, both incoming and outgoing as presented, be noted. So we've got a couple there that we've got an email that for response from staff, an email from David Beams with various concerns, and an email from Julie Jones with property valuation queries. Are we happy to respond to them, councillors or General Manager, or we just leave them in abeyance?
You'd have some advice there, Kira?
So it's just noting that the two where we think a response is required and to provide visibility of the kind of correspondence we receive within council, so that councillors have visibility of some of the correspondence that staff deal with on a daily basis. And with these two correspondence, and there's a late item as well, they've specifically requested or specifically directed their correspondence to council and councillors, which is why we're providing you for visibility. To Ms Jones, I have responded to her email, just noting that the sale of the Union Steamship building was considered by council and was a decision of council. And to Mr Beams, I have not yet responded.
Mr Beams' correspondence was difficult to follow. I did read it a couple of times and I got confused.
Yep.
Many a time as to what his point is. I mean, obviously he doesn't like the NBN, he's not happy with it. Does he believe that we're the constructors of the NBN, perhaps? I'm not sure, I'm confused. No idea.
Through you, Mayor, I think it's where he lives, out on the same road where my father lives. There's no fibre in that area. So your choices are 4G or something like Starlink.
Yep.
That's just the way it works. Yeah.
I guess we could respond with what information that discussions we've been having with NBN and Telstra around the communications uplift on the West Coast. Just to explain to them that we are in continuing negotiation or discussions with NBN Co and Telstra around improving the NBN and mobile coverage on the West Coast. So at least he knows that we are.
Through you, Mayor, how many places or how many of our towns actually have fibre? Queenstown.
I thought Zan and
Z-
Rosebery were.
Zane and Rosebery have it as well, yeah.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
Queenstown's in, right, which is Strawn and Green.
I only had something to do with how the fibre backhaul comes into the region.
I understand that's just been upgraded as well, so there are some developments. I'm comfortable responding to both, but what I'd like for council to approve that I write that the correspondence has been put before and considered by
Yeah.
council, and I'm
Yes.
responding on council's behalf.
Yeah, by all means. Okay, any other questions, council, on the correspondence? Okay, we'll keep moving then. Well, sorry, I've got a late item 276A. We need to accept that late item. Someone like council resolved by absolute majority to consider the following matters for discussion as a late item to the meeting agenda. Someone like to move that way, please? Move councillor Stringer, seconded councillor Newman. Put to vote, all those in favour? Against, carried. So the item is 276B, correspondence email from Helen Reid. Correspondence was received after the agenda had been finalised and circulated.
Well, you, Mayor, the context is I subsequently had a discussion with Mrs Reid and worked through her issues, but she asked that the correspondence be put before council as a late item.
Okay. So the council resolved that the correspondence, both incoming and outgoing, as presented, be noted. So for your information, councillors.
So is there something you happy to explain the bottom section, you know, the waste, the charge, for the 315 charge? You're right to explain that to us?
Yes, as discussed, that's been a recurrent question on the waste levy that's charged by state and that we collect on state's behalf. So I've been able to talk residents through that.
Sure.
Okay. Item 277 is a letter of support. So the recommendation is that council provide a letter of support to the group of local stakeholders who are applying for the Stream 1 of Regional Precincts and Partnership Program to build shared green walking MTB trails around Queenstown. Someone like to move that way, please? Move councillor Ivanicky, second councillor Butterfield. Open for discussions, councillors.
Can I jump in? Because I just think it's a fabulous idea. Thank you. What a great idea. I love seeing initiatives like this championed by our community. And I really want to congratulate the applicants on such a professional and thorough application and wish you every success. And I hope that the other councillors agree to support the letter of endorsement.
Thank you, councillor. Any other?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I'll second that. One of the things that keep coming out in this latest round of community consultation around our 10-year planning is trying to find more outdoor activities, trying to engage people more in our environment. So this is a great way to do it, and I wish them well. I hope you have great. I hope you can get the funding, and I hope you can get the approvals. I really do.
Yeah, again, I'd just like to wish them well and hope they get the funding and think that, you know, it supports a lot what we're trying to do on the West Coast. It supports a lot of our community plans, outdoor education and activity and general wellness. So, yeah, I fully support council offering a letter of support.
Yep. And I just, reiterate what councillor Ivanicky said. It's good to see local groups stepping up and assisting with these projects that, you know, we put the walk strategy together, which assisted in some of these walks, and this has been taken to the next step. So thanks to those proponents that have certainly spent a lot of time on this. And yeah, it's good to see that we've got locals in our community that are assisting with the long-term goal of what we want to see is you know, a better outcome for all our West Coast residents. So thanks for those people involved in this, and certainly have got my support. Any other discussions, councillors, before we put it to a vote? Put it to a vote then. So all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 278 is Tulla Trial trial update. The recommendation is council note this updated report and agree to take ownership of the Tulla trial project to progress and seek funding for industry and grant opportunities. Someone like to move that way, please, councillors, for discussion. Move Councillor Stringer, seconded Councillor Butterfield. Open for discussions, councillors.
Just from what I know, this, the trails and around Tulla, it's been an ongoing project for a lot of years, and it's had lots of stalling issues. And in the opening summary, to support part of what we said earlier, Hydro have now advised that they're not in a position to drive the project or commit it to ownership of any trail infrastructure. I think part of it also goes across part of their land, and just when I get back here to the right words, it's asking council to update the report and take ownership and see if we can seek funding from industry and grant opportunities to progress it. So I'd like to see that we could, while I realise we don't have enough to fund it at the moment, that we could chase up appropriate funding opportunities to drive the project.
Yeah, you're quite right, councillor. This project has been on the table for some time with Hydro Tasmania and the Tulla Progress Association, that we're going to undertake the project with the funding from the Hydro, and the Hydro's pulled out again in this case. So, it is something which fits into our mountain biking strategy that was put together. This was part of that, one of them trials to interlink our communities together. This was a minor part of that, but I see it as something which, could certainly benefit the Tulla community and the wider West Coast, and also those travelling into the West Coast on mountain bike expeditions. This is an easier track to trail to ride, which would lend itself to those youth and our mountain bike fraternity that would like to be travelling around that area. And of course, it is a scenic trip around the edge of the Lake Rosebery there, and looking at where it could extend right over to where the football ground is, and then we've also got a further item in the agenda with regard to some work that's going on with a pump track over there at that precinct as well. So I think it does fit into our strategy, and I think it's something which we've talked about their strategy before about mountain biking and on the West Coast, and I think this certainly does fit into that. And totally agree that we'd have to go out and look for funding to assist with this, and I guess we're in a position with the strategic partnership now. This is probably another project that we can to earmark some money out of that, given that the Hydro have more or less said that they can't fund it, which originally they did have the funding for some years ago now. So, councillors, any other discussions on the matter?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. It's just another example of Hydro trying to pull the wool over the community's eyes about their contributions to the West Coast. I'm sorry, it's pretty insignificant, but, pulling out of a community event like this when it's their home turf, it's a disgrace. Hydro's just demonstrating how little they do commit to the West Coast, and they're doing it everywhere you look, everywhere you look.
No others?
I've just got one thing to say. After the signage that's on the fences outside Tulla, again bagging out Hydro, I don't think we as a council are in a position to take on any further stuff until we sort our housekeeping out.
Well, councillor, that wasn't council's doing. That was a resident of.
I realise this, but
was
I'm
a
just
resident
saying,
Tulla.
I just don't think we should take on any further projects until a later date. Just my view.
Okay, councillor.
Through you, Mayor. So the line round, that's already there, is it? Or is...
A lot of that track is, some of that trail is already there, yeah, needs some upgrades done to part of it.
Improvements to it, yeah.
Yep, and there is part of it that aren't there.
Issues with crossing properties.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
There's a couple of
and there's part of it that doesn't,
Yeah,
some of it's not there already, it's still not there at the moment, hasn't been completed.
and obviously that's the lake, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd be awesome. Get it done.
Yeah, the big pink bit's hydro. Yeah,
The big pink bit?
yeah, all the way around it.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a fair bit of that trail's already there, cemented, low maintenance.
Yep.
There's just a few sections around where the Tas water is. That area there needs a little bit of work.
That's right, I mean, originally that path went all the way out to the bridge.
Oh, that's the football.
From memory though, and they did do some work as the community along that section,
Yes.
they did it right, but
Yeah, yeah.
they've never been able to link it back to Tullah, that's been the trouble. So, yeah, it just doesn't, it's not gonna help them link all the way out to the lake as it is, all the way out to the bridge, right? Goes a bit further.
Okay, councillors, we'll put it to a vote. If there's no other discussion, all those in favour? Against? One against. Carried. Item 279 is a report on the Zeehan Thrive Spray Tunnel Project and other work. So the recommendation is that council approve consent for the application to lodge a development permit application for their proposed remedial and accessibility works at and around the Zeehan Spray Tunnel, or 2, deny consent for the application to lodge a development permit application for their proposed remedial and accessible works at and around the Zeehan Spray Tunnel, and A, approve providing listed financial implication as in-kind support, subject to applicant submitting an in-kind application form, or B, decline providing the list of financial implications as in-kind support. Someone like to move that way, please. Move councillor Graham, second to councillor Newman.
I'll move 1 and A, Mayor.
Sorry, 1 and A.
Yes.
Yep, I'll second that.
Do you need to? It's,
I'll second that.
is it 1? It's 2,
1 and A.
1 and A or 2 and B, isn't it? So 1 and A, I'll second, I'll move.
okay. So 1 and A.
1, approving the offering the consent to
Yep.
to lodge a DA, because we're the landowner, I believe.
But I thought they said they didn't need a DA if it was done under in-kind. The way I read the report.
Interested, maybe the recommendations are written wrong, yeah, you probably know.
Thought something from the planner.
Through you, Mayor, it does list the exemption on page 92, but there is some points to it that will have to be addressed specifically at the time when they fully finalise their works. So they may need a DA if they can't satisfy the exemption fully. It just
Right.
depends on the assessment at the time.
But by approving it will not be a hold-up. So
Okay, it won't be a hold-
can continue
right.
on while we figure
Okay.
out whether it's
Yep.
covered by the exemption.
Right. So 1 and A.
1 and A.
1 and A.
Still stands.
Yep. So councillor Graham has moved 1 and A, second to councillor Newman. Any other discussions, councillors?
Just one, I thought the spray tunnel was Parks and Wildlife. This is not right, why are we
Good question.
considering this when it's not our responsibility, and I don't believe we should be putting money into that either. Just my view. I think they should be going to Parks and Wildlife before coming to us.
The land is currently owned by the Crown. Oh no, that was the other one.
And that was the other one.
Sorry, through the mayor, I just think we'd step on a few toes if we approve something that's not within our jurisdiction.
Through you, Mayor, I was under the impression that we did hold the lease over the spray tunnel.
Okay.
That was my impression.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, could we investigate that, just to be sure?
I can look at it right now.
Oh, thank you.
I think you're right, Alison, we've had it for quite a number of years, a long time. Yeah.
Leased, licensed, Parks and Wildlife land is the, so we must hold a lease on that land by the sounds of things, according to the information in the report.
So you, mate. So our in-kind contribution will be carting away the waste and that sort of stuff, is that?
And the, getting rid of the jack jumping nest. Yep.
Okay, yep.
So Zan Thrives have undertaken to do all the other
Yep.
work around developing tracks, so it's just minimal.
And through you, Mayor, I gather that will be an ongoing project for Zan Thrives as a community group.
I think they wanted Bollard reinstated
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the council, so, which is
Stop them
something we
driving
should
in
do
it.
anyway.
Through you, Mayor, there is a licence over the tunnel itself and some surrounding area and roadway.
Okay, thanks, Alison.
I remove A and C, and, sorry,
1 and A.
Yeah.
Yep. Have you, councillors, no other discussions? Put to a vote then. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? 1 against. Thank you, councillors. Carried. Item 280. Item 280 is the Strawn Wharf Advisory Group. Recommendation is the council note the report as presented and the formation of the Strawn Wharf Advisory Group. Any discussions on that, councillors? No, I think it's great. It's something which we've asked for since we took ownership of the wharf, and I think it's great to see that these local identities have put their hand up to be part of that committee. So, thank you to all those that placed their name on the as a nominee and have accepted. So, thank you. Okay, item 281 is proposed mobile sauna. Recommendation is that council approve the applicant to use West Strawn Beach for their mobile sauna business as part of their development permit application. Someone like to move that way, please? For this move, councillor Ivanicky, seconded councillor Newman. Open for discussions, councillors.
I was just wondering which part of the beach that they want to set up.
Exactly, yeah, don't really, that isn't giving us much information, is it?
Yeah, it hasn't got a sort of location, whether it's near the picnic sheds or the other end of the beach.
See the yacht club carrying on if they put them in front of those, and, yeah.
Well, it does say mobile.
And it will be taken away at the end of the night, but, you know, if they were going to set it up when the Strawn picnic's on, there might be issue with the picnic committee. As Councillor Graham has said with the yacht club down there, or whether they set it up in front of them, I think it'd be, if we had some more information on where they were going to set it up, might be advantageous.
Through you, Matt, I was interested on the fees and charges relating to this. Is that like a hire of the venue, or are we going to be getting another report like that to waive the fees to hire? Just wondering if these come into play anywhere. Like if you were to bring your food van to one of the places on the West Coast, you have to pay a fee. So will that fall under those fee structures?
Through you, Mayor, for the first instance, the development application will have much more of this detail.
Okay.
So this is about seeking our approval before they then go and speak to Crown, before they then put in the application. So this is very much at the preliminary stage. But Alison, is there anything you would say about fees and charges?
It's Sort of a tricky one because with our mobile food vendors, they do pay fees and charges to use council facilities, but in that respect, they do not require a DA because they come and go. This application would be seeking a DA, so it would have that full permission in place. We'd have to look at our fees and charges policy and see if that would be something we would have to consider.
And that would be considered as part of the development approval that would come
Yeah, because like
back for decision.
when people hire a picnic shed area, they pay a fee, but this would be using land, not an actual facility, so there may not be the ability to charge.
It may be.
Would they be considered a mobile vendor?
Sorry, Kerry.
Would they be considered a mobile vendor?
I would say not, because they've got full DA permission. The mobile vendors we generally treat as people that have,
Transients.
that come and go, but
Yeah.
they don't need DA approval because they're not there on a regular, consistent basis.
So if they got DA approval, wouldn't necessarily have to leave every day.
No, but
You could leave the-
that would be assessed in the application, so if they say they're going to remove it every day, they would have to, or if they want to leave it there every night, we would have to consider that.
Do they need a DA if they move it every day?
He would, because he's going to be there on a consistent basis. That's the difference between needing a DA and not.
So we need to review our local law on mobile vendors perhaps to manage this challenge.
I'm pretty confident that that's how I would treat it. It has a DA, it doesn't need
Doesn't
any
need
further.
anything.
Because it's not as if he's then going to move it around Regatta Point or round to Risley Cove or something. That's where he's putting it, and that's what his approval is for, and to me that
Yep.
is
Makes sense.
what all he needs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I guess it depends on where it is on West Strong Beach too, because if it's down, it could be on Crown land, so, fees and charges wouldn't be,
Yeah, well, it's all Crown land because
that's
it's all
right.
on the Crown licence.
Yep.
Through you,
I think they
Mayor.
would have to
Well,
stipulate with them.
Close proximity of the primary school and the playground.
don't know.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Well, certainly where people are coming in, coming and going. There's still an early morning swim group who would be the highly likely contenders to use the sauna. You'd be at West Strong Beach, I reckon, somewhere. I don't know, has he given you any indication of where you'd put it?
Oh, this is not.
This is preliminary, so the DA will bring.
Through
And
you,
I think we
Mayor.
have the flexibility in the application process to say, look, our preferred location, it is our licence is A or B, and that is it.
It has been the subject, these mobile sauna businesses in particular, but there's a range of them, have been the subject of a lot of discussion between GMs. Particularly around ensuring we have some consistency in council approaches. So the team have reached out to other councils. We haven't had a response yet, but that would be something we would definitely work through as part of the process.
Yes, and through you, Mayor, my question was not that I don't support it, I do, but I did think that the legislation hasn't caught up with the style of business and how would that, so I'm looking forward to reviewing, the application and how it will fit into the current scheme.
There has been one through you, Mayor, recently approved at Devonport in the Sound Show at the Bluff. I'm not sure if that was discretionary, but it may be worth looking at Devonport City Council agendas. I know it was only the last 2 months.
Oh, the one at Penguin too, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And Bernie.
Only.
So I guess what are they looking for approval?
So this is only,
Just to use West
the
Strong
applicant
Beach?
to use West Strong Beach if, once the DA goes through, as part of their, development application.
So this approval would allow them then to seek approval from Crown to then put in the DA.
Yeah,
I was going to say, through you, Mayor, I was going to say it's Parks and Wildlife again, so where do we not step on toes?
Australian land, actually, but
Yeah, so that there's no stepping on toes, that the approval would be sought from Crown as well.
Yep.
But to some degree, it's easier to get the approval from council in the first instance rather than going through
The other
the
way.
additional steps to get to Crown. So it's a first step and then the decision would go to Crown.
okay, no other discussion, council, put it to a vote, all those in favour?
Right.
Against, one against, carried. Okay, item 282 is interpretative sign action plan. The recommendation is that for noting the report and direct council office to seek funding to progress the interpretive signage action plan project. Any discussions on that, councillors?
Yeah, I'd just like to say signage and some of the pull-off bays and things like that were part of the topic of the community consultation that we had recently. So I think it's a good direction to start taking. My only sort of thought is with signage, especially large signs, we need to give extra consideration to the design and when they're made. If we put marked businesses on them, you know, Birdie's Donuts, in 2 years' time, Birdie's Donuts mightn't be there, so the signs need to be made so that they stay accurate for as long as possible.
Which I think most of them signs probably.
So, you know, have things like post offices and all that sort of stuff, but I'm just not quite sure how we put smaller individual businesses without having the need to change the expensive signs regularly.
Yeah, kind of those precinct signs where you get your small space on a precinct sign. They've been quite valuable to manage that in the past, but we haven't got any of those here. We haven't got a policy that deals with what we do, but we have to change a few things.
Through you, Mayor, as long as the signs aren't distracting to their drivers and tourists if ever we see them again. Yeah, because that's a huge thing on the roads at the moment is people stopping and reading the signs. So, yeah, that's about my only concern.
Yep.
I think it's kind of the next step to our branding, wasn't it?
I was going to say that this has been something we've been pushing for some years now, is the signage upgrades. Finally, we've got there. So, thanks to the staff that have finally got this together. It's been a long drawn-out process. It's since their branding started, we did have money in that budget to do signage as well back then, and it's been, I guess, put on hold for other reasons. But it's good to see we've finally got there and got some designs now to start progressing, which is great to see.
Through you, Mayor, something I've raised in the past, I'll raise it again. Why doesn't council have its own sign writing gear? Why don't we have our own sign making gear? We should. Most remote councils do, and they end up generating a business unit out of it.
Maybe that's something we can
It's not
invest.
expensive today to buy the sign writing equipment. To me, why are we spending all of this money supporting businesses, which is probably Hobart and Launceston, aren't they? When we could very much develop another part of our council operations and cater for ourselves and offer the service to the community. Nobody does it in this region. We wouldn't be national competition policy or anything. They're not that expensive to set up. The equipment's very easy to get and the training's simple. Simple.
Take that on notice, councillor.
Yep. What are we looking at? What sort of expenditure we got here again? 500 grand.
Roughly about that, I think it was. Yep.
But you could set a decent sign shop up for that.
You would.
No trouble. No. And we've got some continuity of some staff, got a permanent job writing signs, and you could go to industry. To me, I think we should. We're looking at the strategy's great, and I support the strategy 100%. All right, but I think we should be self-funding ourselves here. And I think there's work that we could be doing to see whether that's possible. Well, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot there, Aaron and Alison, but you know, every small regional council I've worked for has their own signwriting shop. And to me, it's silly that we don't.
Oh, we'll take that on notice, and General Manager can investigate this, but we're only just looking at the strategy of the project and action plan for that, so, which is, you know, a mountain of work's gone into that, and it's great to see.
My comment on this was very similar to the Deputy Mayor's, and that's the transient nature of some of our businesses is of concern when you're printing it. So, you know, what kind of strategies are there to make sure that info is kept updated? But also, while this is an excellent paper and a lot of work has gone into it, I don't think we should forget to consult with our tourism and business industries, who can also give us some really great feedback about where the priorities might be and what's missing and what's maybe oversigned.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor, we did work with the Visitor Centre, Heritage Centre, Galley Museum, Destination West Coast, and we've been working with West by Northwest as well. But there is, and it is something that came out very strongly in the community engagement for the 10-year plan, was that need for consistent branding and a kind of pull through the West Coast through consistent signage.
Yes, I think what I don't want to see is that sign that stood in Zion forever that we kept getting complaints
Yes,
about when
yeah.
someone going to take it down. It was a really outdated, I think it was almost a franchise sign that you found all across Tasmania, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't a council
And the
sign.
main land.
Yeah, so you don't
That
want
was,
to, we don't want to
yes,
see
and it was
that.
on private land as well, so that was all a problem. Yeah.
You know, I'm fully supportive of it. I just need to make sure that we get it right when we do it because of the money that it costs, and that's it.
Okay, councillors, that was for noting. Item 283 is West Coast Social Media Report, January to June. Recommendation is that council note the West Coast TAS and MTB social media combined report for January to June 2024. Any discussions on that, councillors? No? Disappointing that West by Northwest have pulled out, ceased paying the fees. Given they're supposed to be a regional tourism organisation, so
What was their rationale?
don't know. Doesn't
Through
say.
you, Mayor, the regional tourist organisations have had their funding reduced by Tourism Tasmania. Councils originally put funding into West by Northwest, and we're told that it would never, that initial funding would mean that councils would not need to fund tourism marketing. That approach has now changed and the burden is back on councils. So there's some ongoing discussion around that.
So really,
So it's budget implications.
so the viability of West by Northwest to the West Coast is questionable now.
Well, it's across the board in all regional tourism organisations, but it is a real challenge because we need that marketing to be able to get people here. We're not an entry point.
Yep. Okay, any other discussions, councillors? Right. Okay, item 284 is report on Bay of Fires Season 2 filming. Also for noting, council note this report and the conclusion of filming on the West Coast for Season 2 of the Bay of Fires. Any discussions on that, councillor?
Yes, just a point to note, if you weren't aware, to my fellow councillors, that the Bay of Fires staff, when they left, were incredibly generous to most of the communities on the West Coast. So they donated leftover food, stable foodstuffs to the neighbourhood house. They donated some to the Child and Family Learning Centre. They donated numerous items to the Zion Neighbourhood Centre. So I think that's an excellent example of, you know, not just packing up and leaving, but really figuring out, you know, what could they give to the community who've really been supporting them.
And included donations of furniture, a whole range
Yeah.
of furniture and other items as well.
Okay, no other discussions, councillors? No, it was a great outcome again for the West Coast, I think, with the amount of income that a lot of our businesses got over that period of time in the winter period, so well worth the funding that's in-kind support that council give to the Bay of Fires. Okay, we've got 2 on 284. I think we've all done that. So item 285 is a report on the July 2024 Youth School Holiday Program. Also for noting, council note the successful delivery of the West Coast Youth School Holiday Program July 2024. Any discussions on that, councillors?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Not really a discussion, just a suggestion. Would it be okay to add some kind of numbers of participants? It would just be helpful to know that, there were 12 kids that did the basketball in Rosebery. Just give us a bit of a baseline to build from.
Yep, no, I guess it is another, it's great to see our growth and change, another department, things they're doing in the community. And we would have, probably should have been something which our Department of Education should be involved a lot more in, rather than council, but, kudos to that team and the amount of work they put in to make sure that this was, again, a successful holiday program. So it's great to see that the growth and change, the amount of work they do in that space. So thank you to the staff. There is, yeah.
We didn't wear the football, kick or go fishing. That's all we ever was at school. This sort of stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah. And to bring along some of them other organisations, the Zoo Neighbourhood House Centre, the Rosebery Neighbourhood House, and also Libraries Tas, the new Tas involved in that as well. So it's good to see that they're able to get some other input from other organisations. So thanks to the staff with regard to that. Okay, any other discussions, councillors? No. Item 286 is the Legat CCTV project. Recommendation is that Council A provide in principle approval for the CCTV project, and B approve commencement of the community consultation, and C note that Council will be responsible for maintenance, sustainment and disposal costs after the 3-year initial project maintenance period. Someone like to move that way, please, Councillor. Move Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Jordan. Open for discussions, councillors.
Yeah, it's very good, Mayor. I think it's well overdue that we get CCTV in our communities. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of an IT nightmare for us initially. How will that tie in with our digitisation program completely? Are we going to have trouble there or not?
It will be standalone, and the IT and software will be managed by the LGAT project for the first 3 years.
Yeah, I read that, and then then back to us.
And then back to us, but that gives us almost a pilot approach, so we can investigate during that period how that works. We'll be further along the digital transformation, be better placed to understand how that we can align that and bring it in together, or whether it is useful sitting outside. The other piece, because it's part of Internet of Things, we need internet coverage for those CCTVs, which means we can actually offer public Wi-Fi in the surrounds of the CCTV, which provides some community benefit as well.
We're looking at that for our parking meters long term anyway, so there's other benefits.
Yeah.
But the only comment I would make is a bit more consultation. The one in Strawn, I don't think, initially that's a great place for it, but, their public safety, I think our main streets need priority over those sort of areas, and we don't get a great deal of vandalism in those areas there. But I think if we went to the public, as long as there's some flexibility in these aren't the be all and end all, and the system has design capability for growth. You know what I mean? Those are the two things I think about, but they're public safety teams, so we want them in areas where we get the maximum public safety viewing. And I don't think just on rec grounds is probably the best bet for that. One thing we find in the past is things like people putting CCTV over our areas where we have community, what do you call them, needle bins and things like that, where we encourage people to use the needle bins, but then we put a CCTV over the top of it, and the next thing you know, the needles are going back to inappropriately disposed. So being a little bit smart about where you put cameras is really, really important, and getting advice from those that have done it in the past would be really important.
And I guess looking at the ones from Queenstown, the Queenstown side of things, a lot of them is where Tas Police have got cameras already in the main street. So, well, I think they're probably, because they're not, there's issues with them, and they're looking at pulling out. So,
good. God love them.
So I guess it's renowned that they're there for a reason, and they're why they've picked them locations, because that's why they've been there in the past. So,
as well as the connectivity. So the reason the rec centre is in Strawn is because we can access.
We got connectivity there.
Yeah, but there was 35 locations initially considered. They were prioritised, but community consultation would take part of that as well, as long as we could work out the connectivity.
Remembering their public safety. They're not there to stop people vandalising. That's a different, further down the track, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, any other discussions, councillors?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. It says note that council will respond for maintenance, sustainment and disposal costs. What are they talking about with disposal costs if we decide not to keep it?
Decide not to do.
So, well, asset management over time anyway, you need to
Yeah.
factor in the disposal cost. So it's not that
Yeah, yeah.
it would. So if we decided not to go with it, there wouldn't be a disposal cost immediately. It's just part of that asset management process
Okay.
to eventually cover that.
Actually, good to see us thinking that way. Something
Yeah, no,
do
it is.
well in our asset management, so including those costs up front is really, really smart.
And we've got the connectivity here in most of the places?
Yeah, so that's part of the reason those spots were chosen, because we have that connectivity available.
Okay, yep.
Okay, council, put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Item 287 is post CBD areas on the west coast to be smoke vape free zones. Recommendation is the council, for council to note community feedback to the survey, proposed designation of central business districts in west coast towns to be smoke/vape free, and direct council officers to consult with the Department of Health Tobacco Control Unit to obtain further advice for progression. That's only for noting. Okay. Any discussions on the councillor?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. A resounding positive for it, isn't there really? 64% responders are in favour of the bans, which is really, really high. I don't know what sort of numbers have been up on.
Thanks,
Thanks.
folks.
Going to the next meeting.
Thank you.
So 68 responders, 43 of them said, yeah, they're in favour of it. So I think that's resounding. 68's not really a representative survey, but we never get a representative number, do we? Having 43%, having 64% positive, which is brilliant. I think it's good. To me, that's saying go in and explore it further. Absolutely.
So I have a couple of comments just regarding council probably leading the way here and putting the vape-free, smoke-free areas in place on council properties first, prior to taking it to the community, putting the bin bans in place.
Yeah, I'd be supportive of that, council, for sure.
Yep, certainly, council. I guess that's something which we need to look at and maybe
Lead by example.
lead by example, yeah, so maybe the next meeting, something may come of that.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I suspect Rosebery's going to be the tough nut to crack, because you can see that they were not particularly on board. So, having that really robust community engagement around it is of course going to be important. But I'm just wondering the locations that the people have voted on already, is that where we're going to start? Or is that?
That was my question. We're going to go with option
it?
one. Well, option one seems to be the most supported in each area. So that would be the logical one to put in place. And I'm a smoker, so.
And is that, yeah, so, yeah, I guess, yeah, my question was similar, Scott, like, this is, we're not making a decision today on where they're going to be.
No.
Just to the
You
next.
need to investigate with Department of Health Tobacco Control Unit to further progress it, so there's a lot more work that needs to be done yet. But it does give us yeah, and an open view on the survey that was done. Okay. Item 288 is the West Coast Cemetery expansion. Recommendation is that council note the report as presented, advising current condition and capacity of the West Coast cemeteries and the requirement for future strategic decisions by council. That's for noting. I've just got a couple of things I'd like to just talk about. So some years ago, when the Rose Garden was put in the Queenstown Cemetery, it was put in the wrong location that we agreed on. It still hasn't been moved. It's still where we said we didn't want it. It's holding back what could be future avenues for the niche wall to be extended. And given that we are looking at, well, Queenstown's probably not so bad, it's still got a few years of available space, but, you know, we're running out of spaces in the niche wall there that can be expanded further out with an almost doubling of what's there now. I think we need to
Fairly expensive options doing too, aren't they? They're reasonably inexpensive things to do, aren't they?
and you see a lot more of the people using the niche wall now than what they do a plot, new plots. There's a lot of reserve plots, I believe, but yeah, I think the niche wall certainly, and like the Rose Garden won't be removed, it'll be still where it originally was proposed to go. But it allows us to extend that niche wall if need be into the future, and it will. Well, and the other thing it does do, it does, I guess, fix the front of the cemetery. Well, we've got the niche wall that goes halfway along that wall, and then we've got the a wooden wall to the next entry. So, a few things that can be.
The concentration sites in the cemetery are interesting. Little viewing areas and little places to sit. You think, what are they contemplating in the cemetery? If we're a business unit, we'd put them in, wouldn't we? I thought that was interesting. I remember Toowoomba City Council took over the cemeteries as a business unit, and the first thing Mike did, the manager, is he went and got coasters printed and put them in all the bowling clubs and golf clubs. Buy your plots, and it did it. It generated a lot of revenue. So there's, you know, in the bigger areas, they're quite lucrative businesses, cemeteries. Yeah. They're run as business units of the council. So.
Through you, Mayor, I'd just like to see a little bit more seating for the cemeteries, for family members that are ageing and want to visit their loved ones, and it'd be nice to make it a pleasant place to be, because it's very peaceful, and we should just make it cosmetically pleasing.
Yep.
You know, it's a final resting place, and I think it should be respected, and yeah.
See, that report does mention.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it talks about having those things.
Extra seating and etc. Yeah.
It's probably, what, 18 to 20s. It's 4 years dated now, isn't it? So
Yeah,
4 years.
6 years, 2018.
Through you, Mayor, there was work done as a response to that report, but our subsequent work on capacity has shown that the report just was misguided.
Yeah.
And that it is a bigger issue in closer time. It's also worth noting that I've had representations from community members about council having a natural burial policy, and so there's a whole range of work in the cemetery and I guess death space that we'll start looking at following on from this report.
Bit of work to be done.
A work in progress then.
Yep. Okay, any other discussions, councillors? Oh, just the community groups that they seek value information from. I'm sure they haven't been around a lot of community groups. I'm not sure who they did.
You might wander in the Lyle wing, mate, in the chat.
Who they did talk to, because yeah, I don't think there was a lot of consultation back when they did it. Anyway. Okay, item 289 is Cradle Coast Waste Management Group 2024-25 annual plan and budget. Recommendation is somewhere here that on that report. No.
We're still an active financial member, aren't we?
We are, and that'll be covered by the remote council waste levy, so we get additional to support that involvement. They're doing a lot of education. Obviously, there's elements that we don't access, including the photo for the time being, but there is a lot of education, signage, and obviously report council considered previously about recycling and rubbish collection models. So there is in the arrangement.
Okay, no other discussions, councillors? Item 290 is report acting general manager. So recommendation is the council delegate all authority and powers pursuant to section 22 Local Government Act 1993 to the acting general manager Alison Shea as set out in appendix 1, noting the date of delegation is for the period of 27th of September, Friday 27th of September 2024, 5 p.m. to Monday the 14th of October 2024, 8:30 a.m. inclusive. Someone like to move that way, please, councillors. Move Councillor Ivanicky, seconded Councillor Newman. Open for discussions, councillor. Any discussions? No discussions? No?
I think it's in, I was just going to say,
We need an acting GM for that period of time, so
we've got to have
I
someone.
think at the moment, Kira's probably only got one senior leadership team at the moment, so yeah, we need to make sure that we do the right thing and appoint Alison as the acting for that period of time, given that we need to have someone in that role as well. So, okay, no other discussions, council, put the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Where am I now? Matters for closed meeting, so item 291. Council may by absolute majority close the meeting as part of the meeting when certain matters arise. We don't need that. Recommendation is that items 293.24 to 306.24 discussed by council in closed session. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Jordan, second Councillor Stringer. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Closed meeting. Recommendation is council resolved by absolute majority to go into closed session to consider the following matters. Time being 6:22. Someone like to move that way, please? Councillor. Move Councillor Newman, second to Councillor Jordan. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against?